John Chowning will come with our report from our Committee on Public Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am not Paul Badgett. Brother Paul could not be here today due to a funeral in his church in Pikeville, so I'm vice chair of our committee. And this morning, Steve Thompson informed me that I would be standing in. So good afternoon, Kentucky Baptist, and let me bring you greetings from our Public Affairs Committee. The report is listed on page 13 in your book of reports, and I would encourage you to take time to look at that. Some of the topics of that report have already been mentioned here during the course of today's convention, particularly in the subject of expanded gambling or casino gambling. Let me take just a moment and point out two areas of particular concern that our Public Affairs Committee has spent time in discussing. There have been other issues this past year, but two in particular. We have given emphasis due to the leadership and vision of our former President Paul Chitwood, and then continued this year under the President Darren Gaddis and other officers of the convention, to renew our concern about issues of human life, the sanctity of human life. We live in what has been called a culture of death. And I think that as we come together this afternoon as Kentucky Baptists, we must admit and talk about and confess to God our own indifference to those issues of human life, whether it be abortion, stem cell research, euthanasia, and a host of other issues of great concern to Kentucky Baptists. In order to better address those issues during the last 2 years, with particular success this year due to the work of our committee, and I would like to thank the KBC staff, including Robert Reeves and his staff, for the great work they have done. And available in the convention are these two Preaching with Values kits. We placed emphasis first on the sanctity of human life, and then secondly, on the expanded gambling issue. Damaged gambling is no gain, damaged lives. And I would encourage you to take one of these packets on both of these issues. These are critically important issues. And just a few days ago, we saw an election for the highest office in our Commonwealth. Expanded gambling was a part of that discussion. Expanded gambling will be on the agenda in the 2008 General Assembly. And expanded gambling will be on the agenda in the Commonwealth of Kentucky well beyond the General Assembly. Even if we as Kentucky Baptists and others are able to stop it from going to a constitutional referendum in the January through March General Assembly, and that is our goal, is to stop it from being put on the ballot. We want Kentucky's legislature to exercise their responsibility. We do not want a constitutional referendum. However, should there be one, we as Kentucky Baptists must be prepared. We must be prepared to fight this. There is nothing good in expanded gambling for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is a regressive form of taxation. It hits those who are the poorest the hardest. It is an expansion of corruption in our state. It is an influence of outside funding. It will bring economic devastation to our Commonwealth. It is a poor form of economic development. The jobs that are created are very poor jobs. And if you go beyond the glitter of expanded gambling, you will see pathologies of the human condition. And Kentucky Baptists, we don't want this, amen? We do not want this in our Commonwealth, so we ask you to join us. And I want to thank Charles Barnes, Dr. Mackey, and our convention leadership this year for standing tall in opposition to expanded gambling. And I hope that this convention, as we leave here, you will join us in this year 2008 in the General Assembly. And should there be an election a year from now, we must fight it we must defeat it. It's been said as I close, $1.5 billion out of the pockets of Kentucky's taxpayers in order to produce $500 million in revenue. And we believe, those of us who've been fighting this issue for many, many years, we believe that that's an exaggerated claim. Actually, the net revenue would be more like 200 to 300 million. But 500 million in revenue, if that's correct, it would take Kentucky taxpayers gambling $1.5 billion. That's out of the pockets of our Kentucky families. This is a moral issue, it is an economic issue, it is a political issue, and we must stand tall and strong. And today, we thank our convention and our leadership for their support on this important issue. Thank you.